Gotta clean my glasses, cause they're so dirty. That'll do. Hallo Leute, ich bin Katja und ihr seht Deutsch für euch. Say what? We still haven't finished the 3 big word groups? And it's gonna be a while. So, I announced on Facebook that today we're gonna start with adjectives. Finally! That means that we're gonna start with the grammar today, and we're gonna have that be our topic for the next few grammar videos. I don't know how many exactly yet, but let's see. Which leaves next week's vocabulary episode open for actually learning a few adjectives. Also, another thing I already mentioned on Facebook, starting this week, I will upload an irregular verb of the week every Friday. That means the conjugations of an irregular verb, its meanings of course, and if it's needed, explanation. Won't be long videos, but it should be a much more comfortable way for you to get these out of the way than just looking them up yourself. There will also be an extra this Thursday talking about irregular verbs in general, so keep an eye out for that. Man, this sure is a busy week, not just for German politicians. Okay, and now it's finally time to get to our actual topic. So, Adjektive. Another term for Adjektive in German is Wie-Wörter, so literally how words. This is the first term kids in Grundschule learn about because an adjective describes how something is. That doesn't completely grasp the real definition, of course, but it's good enough as a starting idea. Knowing this, there are 2 ways in which an adjective can get this job done. Namely, by either getting in front or behind the noun that it goes with. Don't make that dirty somehow, please. Now for demonstrational purposes in this next part, let's use the noun Mütze and the adjective schwarz. If an adjective goes in front of the noun it goes with, it has to be declined. Meaning that no matter where the combination of the noun and the adjective stands in the sentence, as long as the adjective comes in front of the noun, and that means directly in front of the noun, it always has to be declined to fit that noun. Just like the article or pronoun added before the noun. Using our example, these would be a few possibilities. Das ist eine schwarze Mütze. Diese schwarze Mütze gehört mir. Ich mag schwarze Mützen. Schwarze Mützen sind cool. So, the adjective here is nothing but an attribute for the noun. That is why we call this way of using it attributiv. For using adjective this way, or at least for using them correctly, you have to be aware of the following things. The gender of the noun it goes with, the number of the noun it goes with, the case of the noun it goes with, and the ending indicated by these 3 things. Hold on, what? Wait, what? Endings? That's right, kids! More endings. It may come as no surprise that we have yet another case of trigenderitis on our hands. Yeah, I know that joke was cringy, but I couldn't come up with anything better, okay? Anyway, I'm going to get into these endings in our next grammar session in 2 weeks, because otherwise I would have to pack way too much information into this episode. For now, let's move on with the positions an adjective can take on in a sentence. So for the second case, if an adjective goes behind its noun, it is not declined. Now in this position, so behind the noun, the adjective can either pertain to the noun itself or to a verb following the noun. But since then it's kind of questionable if it's really still an adjective, we will focus on the first case today and get to the second case when we're talking about adverbien. But what's important here is that in both cases, the adjective does not have to be declined. And why is that? Well, regardless of whether the adjective goes with a noun or a verb has to come in between the noun and the adjective in this scenario. The adjective is therefore no longer in an attributive function, but in a predicative one. Well, this means it has now become a part of the predicate, Prädikat, which is the conjugated verb in a sentence. Remember, this does not have to mean that it is related to the verb, just that it is a part of that sentence. Let's look at 2 examples. Meine Mütze ist schwarz. 2 meiner Mützen sind schwarz. So again, if an adjective stands behind its noun, it only does so because it has become part of that sentence's main verb. My hat is black. The adjective still applies to the noun, not the verb. Yet it is exactly that verb squeezing itself in there that makes it clear where that adjective goes, without having to decline it. So, summing up, if an adjective stands in front of its noun, it has to be made clear which word exactly it goes with. This is done by declining it exactly the same way as the noun that it goes with, which we'll get to in 2 weeks. If an adjective that belongs to a noun stands behind the noun it belongs with, the verb in between makes it clear that the adjective belongs with the noun and therefore makes declining it unnecessary. One last thing. Why do these two positions even exist? It's quite self-evident, really. It really only depends on what you want to say. If, for example, you were just going for pointing out the color of my hat, you would just say the hat is black, so die Mütze ist schwarz. But if you actually just wanted to say something entirely different about the hat and just qualify it as black in the process, you would put the adjective in front of the noun to make it clearer which hat you're talking about. For example, that black hat is pretty. Diese schwarze Mütze ist hübsch. Whew, okay, so much for positioning. Next week we will learn some adjectives that you can practice this and, more importantly, the few next grammar topics on. Your random word of the week is Kuscheltier. Literally means snuggling animal. Also, this specific Kuscheltier, just like in English, is called teddy bear. But make sure not to pronounce the R in an English way, as usual, but pronounce the bear as an actual German bear and not bear. Alright, bis nächste Woche. Tschüss!